somewhere in France. Boy, that's hot. Boys who never got up before an audience.
She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain.
No, this isn't Phil Baker. Or Harry James. Or the Mills Brothers. But the big shots who buy the talent for radio aren't passing these bets up. When you've finished your bookings on this circuit, there'll be a radio audition waiting for you no matter when you get back. Yes, NBC, America's biggest network, is rolling down their red plush carpet. Radio takes its place with the other large industries who are going to give service men and women released from active duty an edge over the other fellow. A bona fide opportunity to show what you've got. And if you've got it, they'll buy it.
Veterans and servicemen and women interested in radio careers are invited to apply for an NBC Welcome Home audition. Write to NBC Welcome Home Auditions, Rockefeller Center, New York. This is the National Broadcasting Company. WEAF, New York.
Who knows, but there goes a second edition of the Andrews Sisters. Just get in line and file your application. There's no obstacle course to the inner sanctum at NBC. No decorating the waiting room or sitting at home for a phone call. Just a quick 1, 2, and you're in front of the top people. Ray Grimes of the 36th Division was one of the first men into North Africa. Honorably discharged, he's now digging in for a career. Any experience in show business, Mr. Grimes? Plenty. He laid them in the Isles in North Africa. That's good enough for NBC. But even if he hadn't faced an audience or had any experience, the offer still holds. Comes the big day. Addressing the group is George Maynard of NBC, a discharged serviceman from the ETO. A little briefing before the squad takes to the air.
Well, now we're going to listen to you on the microphone, and we're going to give you a fair and square hearing, a professional hearing that's going to bring out whatever you've got. We're going to try and get everything that you have to give, and NBC is going to follow up on you if you have the real material. Now, the first one on my list today is...
Beyond the blue horizon waits a beautiful day. Goodbye to skies so stormy. Joys are waiting for me.
Frankly, you may have been far different before your bath, hot and dusty from a day of housework and shopping.
But then you sink down into that tub. Pick up a cake of pure white beauty soap. Notice its delicate feminine fragrance, and you begin to feel daintier right then and there. You really enjoy your bath. It's a real pleasure after a busy day.
Bring to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge with.
loving you. Yeah, that's too low. That's better. I'll be loving you always with the love that's true. Always when the things you plan need a helping hand, I will understand. Always, always. Days may not be fair, always. That's when I'll be there, always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always.
Well, lady. 3 of this group and many others have already been signed up. So get those numbers in shape, fellas, because this same opportunity is going to be waiting for you. Listen to C.L. Menser, Vice President of NBC.
When you've finished with what you're doing, please come over. We'll take care of you.
This is one of the happiest days in the lives of these half-starved men marching along a road in the Philippines. They are ending 3 years of imprisonment in the Japanese stockade at Cabanatuan. Nearly all of them are veterans of our first Philippine campaign. Some of them are survivors of the Monstrous Death March that followed the surrender of Corregidor. Let them speak for themselves.
Folks, you see, this is my buddy, Don Smith.
Don
How you
Smith,
doing?
happy to know you, Don.
All right.
Where are you from?
Boulder, Colorado.
Boulder, Colorado?
Right.
And you?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, as I understand it, why both you fellas were forced to make the Death March after you were captured.
That's right.
Well, now, how did that start out? Would you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, after the surrender, we stayed in the sun for about a day and a half, and then we started marching to San Fernando. That was our goal. We marched for 3 days and 3 nights, and, well, the bad part about it, we didn't have no food or water, and only water we could get was up a Carabao Wallers and drainage ditches and stuff like that. And even though the Filipinos tried to give us food, the Japanese wouldn't let them, and several times they bayoneted women and children trying to give us water and food. But then we finally made it, thank God, and that was about, from there on we was transported to a prison camp. In boxcars.
How many men do you suppose you lost? Do you have any idea while you were on this march?
Well, I'd say we lost about, on the group I was in, there was 800 men. I'd say we lost about 150.
150 of the 800?
Mm-hmm. They fell out of line and they were bayoneted, most of them.
I see. And how much weight did you lose? Do you have any idea at all?
Well, I was weighing about 160, and when I arrived at camp, I was weighing about 118.
118. Almost that much in the 3 days and nights. Hot sun, I suppose, all the time.
Hot sun, no water, and fatigue, and that's what made me lose the weight, I suppose.
Sergeant Donald Smith.
What did you consider to be the worst feature of the whole 3-day march?
Well, it just seeing so many of my friends, that is, that couldn't make it.
When they couldn't make it, they were killed?
Yes. And if you fell out and tried to help any of them, you received the same treatment. So not so many of them got away with it.
Did the Japanese do anything to you personally as far as torture?
Well, no, not exactly. Just usual run-of-the-mill stuff. You were beaten for almost any little thing. Especially out on the farm, one of the Japs worked me over a little bit with a pick handle, but outside of that,
What had been the cause of that?
Well, it was someone clear down in another little plot of ground who was working. He was standing up stargazing or something, and they had their little tricks like that. They'd pick on the first one handy rather than walk the length of the plot to go get someone else.
So you took the punishment for someone else because the Jap was lazy, is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Private First Class Pat Parker.
Would you mind telling me how the Japs persuaded you in case you didn't feel too strong or didn't want to work that day?
Well, that'd be simple. Pick handles.
Pick handles?
That's right.
By just hitting a man with a pick handle.
Well,
right?
Not only hitting, they'd beat. If
Beat.
you knock you down, they'd stomp you and kick you around.
Well, now, what did you weigh when you were captured? You happen to remember that?
I weighed 183 pounds.
And what was the lowest weight you hit after you were down? You might say down to the low ebb.
Well, that was Nichols Field. I got down to 75 pounds.
From 183 pounds,
That's right.
clear down to 75.
Right.
Now, one other thing. Did the Japs ever torture you any or anything like that? Or would you mind mentioning a case or so?
Yes, one case they do a little torturing. I got hung up with the thumb once.
By the thumbs?
That's right.
Are there any scars on them there? Well, how did that work? How did the whole torture go? Or what was the cause of it? And what did they do? How long was it?
Well, they caught me talking to a Filipino girl. Well, the last I seen her, they beat her to death. Well, they beat me a while and then hung me up with the thumbs. I hung out there 72 hours.
Without food or water?
Without food or water. To make it worse, why, they set a pitcher of water out in front of us. And then about every 30 minutes, they'd come along and drop a piece of ice in it. That was pretty hard to take.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, did you finally pass out, or did you keep conscious all the time?
Well, I stayed conscious all the time, but I couldn't stand alone when they took me down.
They owe their liberty to a company of rangers who marched into enemy territory, annihilated the Japanese garrison at Cabanatuan, and brought the 512 prisoners back through enemy lines. 3 years of imprisonment, starvation, and hell stand between them and the last time they walked as free men or tasted an American cigarette. Sergeant Robert Fell.
I'm a Britisher that was liberated from that prison camp. I was taken prisoner in Singapore, from where I was sent to Thailand and compelled to help build a railway, during which time at least 50% of the people that were sent there died of cholera, dysentery, diphtheria, and malnutrition. From Thailand, I returned to Singapore and was embarked on board a Japanese ship which was to take us to Japan. Off the coast of Luzon, this ship was sunk by American dive bombers. Of the 1,300 aboard, to my knowledge, only 70 of us survived. From there, after swimming ashore, I was taken to this prison camp number 1, and I was liberated by the Yanks when they came in. I'm glad to be back in civilization again.
Sergeant Samuel Goldie, Signal Corps.
Rangers came in that night, and it was about as happy a sight I'd ever seen in my life. For 3 years, we couldn't do anything without someone telling us what to do, and now at last we can do what we want when we want to. I'll be sure glad to get back to the United States where I'll be a free American again and get myself a milkshake.
Of an outcast, now a hunted wanderer over the face of the globe. She lived life to the full, and in her wake, she left a trail of broken men. Now a fugitive, battered and beaten, she spends her numbered days in a miserable hideout. You all know her name, Anopheles Annie, the malaria mosquito.
To look at me now, you wouldn't hardly believe it. But back in the good old days, I was really some stuff. Yeah, it was a cinch for a gal to get along when I was young and good-looking. But times have changed. Why, I used to be the toast of the hot spots, queen of the swamps. The world was my playground. The South Pacific, India, North Africa, Italy. Yep. All over the world. I knocked them on their heels. I took my drink straight. But the boys got theirs mixed with a Mickey Finn. My percentages was going up when the big shots turned on the heat. It was the same old vice squad that made it hot for me down in Panama. Parasitologists, entomologists, malariologists, every damnedologist in the country got on my trail. And I do mean trail. They started a cleanup. First, they wised the boys up. Smashed up our hangouts. They really poured it on with oil. They dusted us off with Paris green. They busted in all the joints from Burma to Bizerta. The racket's getting tougher. The percentages ain't what it used to be, but thanks to Snafu, a smart operator can still sneak in for a one-night stand.
Pipe the torso. Look at those knees. He don't care where he goes. He's wide open.
Repellent? He never touches the stuff. And that goes for the Atterbreen, too. Well, dearie, as long as that guy's around, a little gal can still make an honest living.